is he going to get fired? Yeah, yeah, because we're paying him, but we're paying the county attorneys to represent us. You know, we pay the administrative law judge to go through those.
If we don't like what they're doing,
We can fire him and get somebody else. But his ruling is his ruling, and so
but the
yeah.
rules could be
Yes, by that paycheck. Yeah,
that's why I
Yep.
see your position.
that's
It's
a
stronger.
yes. Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
just makes it harder. So,
All right, thanks.
hey Peter, can you hear us?
Well,
Okay. How's that? Can you hear us and see us?
shouldn't be too complicated today, right? Today I thought looked like a way shorter and easier agenda. Hopefully that's the case. Right.
Okay, Peter, you should be hearing us and seeing us. Perfect.
I remember hearing because of all the oil exploration areas south, down by Martin Creek, Bluff, and some of those areas that there was worry about contamination. Is it really contaminated? You drill a well, if you have a well, is it contaminated or is it not? Okay. It's alkaline. Okay. Alkaline, that's a natural, that's not from the mining or exploration, it's just a normal thing. It's just a normal erosion stuff. Okay. Mostly caused by erosion. So that's what rock
Oh, hey,
clay.
Kaden. You came back to be
Rock clay or yeah. So
Doing good.
everyone
It's
blames
actually,
it on
I
frack.
realized that was on the agenda. I didn't
know if that's
know. I was
you hear different opinions on frack.
Okay, good
I
job.
didn't intend for that.
All right, but you can. So, yes, thank you. Good to see you.
I've heard it all before, Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. We've never had more information.
Which kind you have?
Better than
I get so sick and tired of each flavor. I keep buying different. That's a good one.
That's the only one I'll eat. I like the others.
Okay. So we are ready. Good morning. We'll call a meeting to order and roll call. I guess let me set the date. Today, September 2nd, 2025. It's 11:04. So roll call.
Commissioner Mon here.
Commissioner Harvey present.
Commissioner Stubbs. So at this time, we'd like to ask somebody to volunteer for an invocation. Do you have anybody that would?
I've never said it. You want me to say it?
Okay.
Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful that we were able to meet today for a county commission meeting. We're grateful for the blessings that we enjoy in this part of the country. Grateful for the beautiful surroundings and that we enjoy in the outdoors. Grateful for all the employees of the county and pray for them that they will be blessed as they perform their labors. Grateful for the richness of life and the many opportunities that we receive. Pray that we will be guided in the meeting today. Those who are making decisions and presentations will be guided, and pray for safety. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I'll say amen, and also we thank Heavenly Father for the rain that we have received in our county. So if we can stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll have Lila, do you wanna lead us on the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this point, Commissioners, it's time to declare any conflict of interest in the agenda.
I have no conflict of interest, thank you.
I don't have either, Commissioner Harvey.
I have no conflict of interest, Commissioners.
Okay, and so the next one is public comments, and
Okay.
Matt, you're,
Absolutely, I can go through and read this. So just a reminder regarding our county policies and procedures through this process. On here, we will allow each individual a 3-minute time limit for those wishing to make a comment. After being first recognized by the chair, commissioners or staff members may ask questions or make appropriate comments. However, no commissioner shall argue or debate an issue with a petitioner, member of the public, nor would you expect to receive an answer from the commission when addressing them. It's kind of optional, up to the commissioners at that time. This is really about hearing from the public themselves. If there are several speakers on a matter, we ask that one person be assigned, and that no assignment of time be given unless the commission chair or a vote by the commission. Just remember, in general, citizens attending meetings shall observe rules of propriety, decorum, and good conduct. Unauthorized remarks or similar demonstrations may not be permitted by the chair, who may just direct the removal of the offenders from the meeting. So with that being said, we will first take those individuals who have signed up in the audience, and then we'll direct our attention to those, any of those that are online wishing to make a public comment as well. So the first one that we have signed up today, we have Marjorie. Marjorie, state your name and where you reside within the county for the record.
Thanks. Marjorie Hans Torland, Old LaSalle. So I'm a little bit like Sylvia sometimes. I don't sleep. I woke up at 4:20 this morning and decided to
leave me by 10 minutes.
take the 2025 proposed ordinance and run it through an AI program and do a comparison with all of the other ordinances of the counties and cities within the state of Utah. And it took a few minutes for this AI program to do its analysis, but the result kind of surprised me. This ordinance is not like Kane County or Garfield or Iron or even Grand County. It most resembles the city ordinance of West Jordan, which was startling to me because we're nothing like West Jordan. West Jordan has approximately 114,000 people in its population. It is a suburb of Salt Lake City. Its key economic drivers are retail, healthcare, social assistance, and manufacturing. Doesn't look anything like us. So I truly do hope that we will take the opportunity to rework the general plan and the new planning and zoning ordinance to reflect San Juan County and not a suburb of Salt Lake City. In the wake of the Deer Creek fire, my husband and I have found ourselves scrambling to rebuild a business. Unlike many of our friends who lost everything, we are blessed to have options. But we fear putting forth any significant money to establish a new venue because we feel we are entering into an atmosphere of hostility when it comes to building permits and other foundational components of creating a business or building a home, ranch, or homestead. I encourage the county to work closely with the citizens of the unincorporated areas, to create a general plan and zoning ordinance that will invite people with an entrepreneurial spirit to set down roots and stay here for many generations. Reduce regulatory barriers to empower farmers, ranchers, homesteaders, and agro-tourism businesses to create jobs and offer more attractions to visitors, including those who are local, who want an authentic rural experience. Destination tourism is currently going through a bust period. Grand County is really feeling that. We are feeling it here somewhat. Agro-tourism appeals as much to destination tourists as it does to locals, and that could create a buffer to those economic cycles when they happen. Oh, thank you.
Oh, fast. Sorry. Okay, the next one I have on here is Daniel Wright.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Daniel Wright. I live in Spanish Valley. I'm here to address some concerns with the proposed zoning and maybe some recommendations for the updating of the general plan. One of the things is it seems like single wides are banned again going forward in the residential areas of Spanish Valley, which really increases the costs of building. I've put in manufactured homes. I've put in both a single wide, a new single wide, and a double wide, and it's quite a bit cheaper and quicker to put in a single wide, and they're really well built, HUD approved, 50 state approved. They can just go anywhere. So I'd like to see that added in to kind of address the affordability and housing crisis. I think it's just one thing that makes sense. The other is they don't allow you to have a manufactured or modular home and then an ADU that's manufactured. And again, it's the same thing. We have an economic crisis here with people not being able to earn as much money as they need to survive, and that's affecting you on the tax side, and we don't have business development. A lot of that is because you can't afford to have housing, and so it all just wraps up into this deal that is really central to everything. The costs have to be low to live here. San Juan specifically is in kind of a crisis because the demographics here don't look good. And so you could use this opportunity to be a place that people see in all of Utah as a place you could go and develop and live cheaply, and gain the tax base you need and gain the people that you need. And so I just ask that you look at that. And also more broadly, I think the proposed zoning, like Marjorie says, just doesn't align with what we have here. I think what we want is you to preserve this lifestyle, and that zoning seeks to really kind of uproot the lifestyle, it seems like. So I think you could start with something smaller and then amend it going forward. We've been told that this isn't final and it could be amended and things taken out of it or what have you after a small amount of time. Well, that means we could start small and then add things as well, and that seems like more fitting with who we are. I thank you for all your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that was all that we had signed up for public comment. If there's anybody online, let me check it fast.
It's Peter.
Looks like I'll just have staff online. So commissioners, that's your public comment period for today.
Okay. So next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Okay, on today's consent agenda items, looks like you have 8 items on here. You have the approval of $152,725.28 in small purchases You have 27,350 that are being spent on international opt-ins for visitor services. 13,740 on display lights for the sheriff's department. $1,670.28 on a banner inverter for the road department, and $109,965 on tools for emergency services. This is a grant that they provide, that they have to cover those costs. You have item number 2, approval of the August 5th, 2025 commission meeting minutes. You have the approval of the August 19th, 2025 commission work session meeting minutes. You have approval of the August 19th, 2025 commission meeting minutes. Item number 5 is approval of the August 15th to August 29th, 2025 check registers. You have approval of the 2025 emergency mutual aid interlocal cooperation agreement. Item number 7 is the approval of the 2025 lease agreement between San Juan County and the town of Bluff. And then you have item number 8, which is ratification of the memorandum of understanding for the Mid-America Pipeline 2018-2025 centrally assessed valuations. Just as a side note on there, they had gone through that settlement agreement process with the tax commission and Mid-America Pipeline. These are the proposed valuations that both Mid-America and the tax commission settled on. However, you will also see a future presentation that will be provided in an Excel sheet with our specific taxing entities and how much those costs per taxing entity will come out of this proportionate settlement agreement. And so the settlement agreement that you have before you today that we're ratifying on behalf of the attorney that does these settlements for us is literally a holistic valuation on a whole. So any questions with those?
Okay, Commissioner Mar has a comment.
So my question is I mean, I that was exactly my question, is that we can see those figures
Yes.
and what that is, but why didn't they have the breakdown with it? They just don't have it yet?
Yeah, they
That's what I
just
would like
settled
to
last
see.
week on these valuations, and now they'll go back with the tax commission and break it up with each county as well as each taxing entity. And so that'll come here for approval at a later date as well.
So we would approve that's what the reduction, and then we would have to approve
The
entities as
yes,
well?
Yep, correct. This is just a
Okay.
memorandum of understanding between the attorneys and the tax commission of the valuation that they can get Mid-America to settle on.
Okay.
So
And
that's
then there's another step beyond this where it'll come back to you.
and this
to
is
show the actual
until 2017, and then we'll have another one.
So I appreciate you bringing that up because so last year we settled the 2016-2017. This is a settlement for 2018 up to 2025.
Okay,
So it kind of brings it all together,
Oh,
which
okay,
is what we
okay.
like. And so
so
they kind of, if you remember back to previous conversations with Thomas, he had mentioned that they're going to try to use the formulas that they had settled on in the past and try to work that formula moving forward so that we can get out of these cross appeals on centrally assessed for Mid-America. To be arguing the 2016 and 2017 in 2024 just doesn't make sense. So let's catch up, use that same formula, and that's what Mid-America was settled on and agreed to.
I have a question regarding this. Are all the partners that we have on this that have received funds, are they aware of this coming up,
So
like school district and?
no, because we don't know. We don't have the breakdown yet. So this
Okay.
this one involved Daggett County, Grand County, San Juan County, Summit County, Uinta County, and each of our counties has a portion of Mid-America Pipeline within it, and
Okay.
so they still have to break down those per county, per taxing entity
Okay,
of how much it'll cost. And this was the first step. Let us agree on something. And so this is what they agreed on, and now it's the tax commission's got to go through and pull those pieces apart for each county. So he'll be presenting hopefully this month, next commission meeting. If not, it'll be in October, of what those totals really reflect here within San Juan County itself.
Well, this is good because then we'll be resolved.
Yes, from 2018 all the way up to 2025.
No, Mid-America did not exclude the school districts this time, did they?
No.
Okay.
They would have had the whole pie because it's essentially assessed.
They want to
what
help the
tax
kids, but they
commission-
want to pull their money back.
Yes.
So, but
Yes.
all the entities will be responsible
All of the counties will be responsible, and then they will go through
within the
and,
entities. Yes.
Yeah, hit the entities for their pro rata share.
Okay, so next on the agenda is recognition,
So you
presentation.
have to have a vote
Oh,
on
I'm
that
sorry.
one
I
first.
guess, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to
Oh, Commissioner
approve.
Harvey, you got a question, Commissioner Harvey?
Yeah, if we could set aside number 6 for further discussion, that would be great.
So I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 8, excluding number 6.
Okay, do we have a
One
motion?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, item number 6 is approval of an interlocal agreement between Carbon, Emery, Grant, and San Juan counties to provide mutual aid during emergencies. This agreement authorized under the Utah Interlocal Cooperation Act established protocols requesting for and providing personnel, equipment, and resources in times of public safety, health, and disaster, exceeding capacity singles. And Tammy is here.
Sorry.
She comes running in.
I
That
had
was
two.
good. That
I
was
have
perfect.
two meetings at the same time, so I was listening to both. So this mutual aid agreement allows the 4 counties in Region 6 and 7, as far as emergency management, sheriff's office, and stuff, allows us to help each other when there's a need. During the Deer Creek fire, we were able to reach out to Carbon, and ask them to use their Starlink that they have. So it's just sharing and taking responsibility for our stuff if we share, or them if they share with us.
Okay, that's helpful. This isn't an agreement specific to what is the term I'm thinking of for dispatch, right? It's
No,
It's a
dispatch would
completely
be
separate-
through the sheriff's office.
okay.
So this is just for me as an emergency manager. I can reach out to my other emergency managers. The sheriff can reach out to the other sheriff's offices. And just, if we have the time, if we have the resources and the ability, we can help each other.
What is the time frame that we're establishing for this agreement?
I do not have it with me because I ran in here, but I think it is on a 10-year, a 5 or 10-year cycle. Do you have it in there?
I'm looking forward.
The last one was signed in 2013, so we're definitely way
10-year
overdue.
term.
It's a 10-year term.
And typically, that's the maximum extent that you can go on an interlocal agreement.
Yep.
So you're 10 years.
Based on our recent experiences, Tammy, given LaSalle and some other areas in our county, is there anything that would enhance our relationship with other counties in your mind that could be an opportunity for us to include in this agreement at this time?
So this one I think is pretty specific. We're the first 4 counties in the state to update and renew their interlocal agreements with each other. So we're trend setting that. But I know that over the weekend, Garfield County has an emergency in their county that on a statewide level, they were asking if we had stuff that we could help them with. We're not to that point yet because we would need an agreement with them before we did anything, but it all feeds into that region, county to county, then region, and then regions to state. So it's building blocks.
Last question will be, with this agreement, when we're sharing with other counties equipment, other things that require coordination, is there a cost related to sharing? Is that specific within this agreement, or is it more of me going to my neighbor and using their crescent wrench, and we just have an understanding that we don't break things before returning them?
So, yes, it would be us just basically being a good neighbor and using that. If we were to charge, that puts us in direct competition with people that provide that service. So we're taking business away from somebody that may be making that. But in an emergency situation, if they need something and I have it, I can say, I have this, you can use it.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification.
You're
I
welcome.
was just wondering if this was our dispatch contract, and it is not.
That is
It's
correct.
actually coordination with other counties in case of any emergency, fire, etc. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Okay,
I'll
all in
second
favor?
it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Passes. Number 9, MAC recognition, presentation, information, no items.
Okay, this one is just an update on the status of the general plan. You had asked for this to come back and give you an update on it. Last week we met with the state Office of Division of Drinking Water, as well as the Office of Ag or Department of Ag up there, and just received the information of what we need to incorporate within our general plan. A lot of the tools and resources that they provide, and Todd was there with me on this meeting, just so that we can both wrap our head, especially around the water, the water use section. We
And
have
he's from CERTA.
Yes.
Okay.
So Todd is from CERTA. I appreciate you pointing that out. So we had CERTA there with me on the call with the state. They're willing to come and help us. There's a much more broader discussion that we have to have. Most of our water resources, the county doesn't operate any water or a utility type thing. We've always delegated those rights down to a special service district. We do have to meet with the special service districts and start to prepare a water use and a water forecast plan on there. And so part of that, I can picture just having a meeting with the Water Conservancy District, which is a special service district that oversees kind of all of our water conservancy efforts here in the county. A lot of our water shares are placed under the Water Conservancy District. Well, part of the question is when you look at a general plan 20 years from now, what is that population going to look like, and what is the culinary water usage going to look like as well? And so where they operate in this field, I'm hoping that they'll have some of that information. Bluff special waters, that water special district down there. It's like, okay, what are you doing within the special service district to meet the future needs of water, and what are we doing to conserve it? So part of their recommendation was to bring all the bodies together and have a general meeting with them so that we can discuss with them and try to figure out what their plans are at a local level to meet the water usage needs so that we can incorporate that similar language into the general plan itself. So is the county already conserving water? I know, like within our land use ordinance in Spanish Valley, there is language within that we promote xeriscaping and things like that in Spanish Valley. Well, what are we going to do for the rest of the county? Is it that you're going to promote more xeriscaping, or do you want landscaping? And then how do you handle the agricultural lands within that water as well? And so there's a bigger discussion that the state is pointing out. They will come and help with that meeting so that we can start to set that process up. What I've seen from other cities and counties is they actually have this plan to develop a little bit more thoroughly. And we did a similar study and a similar plan when you look at the WASAT, the Water Resource Management Plan that we did in Spanish Valley in conjunction with Moab and Grand County and Grand Water Sewer and Moab Irrigation. We kind of all came together and developed this resource management plan. We forecasted out the population growth estimates and then come up with an implementation plan to serve the needs of the public. So, for example, in Spanish Valley, if we're running out of aquifer water, is there an ability to distribute water out of the Colorado River, and what would that take? What would that cost look like for us? And so we've developed that portion to the north. Now we just kind of have to have the discussions with the rest of the county in that. And so kind of a little bit further than what the general plan is, because this is more what do we do to enact, which is our land use ordinance piece. But our general plan will just kind of make a statement high level that coordination has to take place within these water entities so that we can come together collectively. I know Todd is kind of in the same situation in Carbon County. The difficulty there that he has, I'm hoping we don't have that same difficulty here, is they don't want to release the data to the county. The special service districts want to keep their own data. They're like, yeah, we're not going to give you our data. I'm hoping that with our water conservancy district, they're pretty good and pretty well diverse as far as representation throughout our county. I think the discussions here, I think at a local level, will be a little bit better than what Carbon County has experienced. Carbon County just told them, no, we're not giving you the data. Here, we're hoping that we can get that information from them so that we can develop that water management plan successfully.
And that's something that we must do.
Correct.
Yeah,
we have
that's
to do
one of
that.
those.
Yes.
It's not a shall. That's
No,
one a
it's-
must.
Yes. If you like it into that sense, that is yes,
Okay.
true. So the next steps really for us is to establish a meeting with them. Then we'll we'll have the planning commission chair with us in those meetings with the state to try to flesh this out more at a special service district level, and then we'll look at language that we can add to the general plan that will reflect that study underneath it. And so, but that one's going to be a little bit more intense than originally thought of, especially where we've got to get into the numbers and the actuals, especially on a conservative note. What does that water usage look like 20 years from now or 5 years from now? Do we have enough? And I think in essence, it's, if you've looked at and you followed what's happened in Iron County for the past year, 2 years, especially when you had the city of Enoch kind of deplete their aquifer, and
That's
then
what the city of
there
Enoch
was
is.
there was crosstalk between different counties of available water and who could buy the shares and where the drainages existed, and so a little bit intense for that county. I'm hoping that it goes a little bit smoother for us, and so.
Thank you. Any questions?
Madam Chair, I have a few questions I'd like to ask. I can start with this question. When we initially talked about visiting the general plan, I think initially we were looking at a specific section in the general plan, not water usage, but more planning and zoning.
Mm-hmm.
So are we saying we're expanding
No.
our scope by including water?
Water has to be,
That's
water
a
and development
requirement.
kind of go hand in hand. In Spanish Valley, for example, if we're out of water in the aquifer, we start to draw that down, we've got to stop development. And so that land use and water availability is critical to go hand in hand, side by side, because that stops your growth if you don't have the water. But if you have plenty of water and you can show that, hey, we're developing additional wells and in Spanish Valley, for example, that water resource management plan anticipates developing another spring further so that it can handle additional capacity and development to meet a 20-year growth cycle. And so we have to have that same discussion with Mexican Hat, the areas surrounding Blanding, Monticello, all of that. When we looked at the Eastland was a subdivision that came in to us and I can't remember what the name of it was with the subdivision was going to be, but in that presentation by the developer anticipated so many homes, but he was hauling water to those homes. And then the community was pretty concerned with the water table and septic systems, reaching into their aquifer. And so because of that, it kind of halted the discussions on a subdivision just in anticipation of how many homes the developer was bringing in without the utilities and services. And so it literally stopped that development from going forward. And so that's why it's critical that you tie your land use development side of it also to the water availability portions.
I think my biggest concern, and maybe it'll settle, is that there are existing planning or zoning applications that the county needs to focus its efforts on. And if I'm understanding what we're being presented with now, we're also looking at water usage that will lengthen the time frame for getting back to the planning and zoning. Because I think ultimately we were looking at specific sections in the general plan so that we can go back to planning and zoning policies so that we can correct our backlog with applications. What now is our time frame when we're evaluating water usage, water forecast plans? Does that extend this endeavor?
The whole process, yes.
By how long?
Sure. I wish I had an answer for that one. I think the fact that we've got Todd here, we can utilize that resource to help us. We've got the state willing to come down. Part of the discussion that we had in work session was literally spurred from a discussion that we had with the Ombudsman's office. So we've got a lot of resources that we can pull, but it halts. It doesn't necessarily halt. We continue to work on the general plan, but it does have an impact, a direct impact, probably more so, on your land use ordinance, which is kind of waiting out there in the wings as well. But we have to have both of these answered in the general plan and in the land use ordinance really before we can move forward, especially where they're a mandate from the state to have these pieces in and the processes in. When you take, for example, last commission meeting, I presented the agricultural overlay districts. Both of those have to be mentioned in our land use plan as well as our land use ordinance. Same with water conservation, has to be in the land use section. It also has to be in our land use ordinance. And so it'll add time, but then again, these are requirements that we have to have in there from the state that are saying that thou shalt put these in there. And we've heard from citizens out there that really want that, the fact that we can have an agricultural overlay district in our planning that kind of protects that agricultural use for the future. But yet we also need to understand, if we do, say, for example, to the south of the county, outside of Blanding, we decided to push for, in our zoning map, high density housing. Well, do they have the water availability? It's like if we're promoting high density in our zoning, but yet our water, we can't get them water into that area, then the development and the planning itself, that zone on that map, doesn't make sense because they can't get the water to meet the high density that we're asking for in our zoning. So that's kind of where it all comes together. Will it take a little time? It'll take time. I don't necessarily think where our general plan is only 3 pages long. I think we can put a simple paragraph that reflects and pushes people's attention towards our land use ordinance, but we will have to create these processes in the land use side of it to make sure that if somebody wants to apply for an agricultural overlay district or zone for their property, what's the application that they fill out? What are those checks that, as we were trained just barely, what is the administrative checks that planning administrator checks off so that they meet all the requirements for an agricultural overlay district so that we can give that to our citizens. And so a little bit more work on the staff side, but like I'd mentioned, we've got CERTA there willing to help us, so we just got to turn them loose and go get it.
Is CERTA the only sole source we have at this point from the state, or are we exploring
So no,
other agencies as well to
yes,
support
so the
us?
Division of Drinking Water, Division Department of Ag, both will help us out on those pieces. And so I presented last commission meeting several examples from other counties that they had provided to us, and so they kind of run oversight for us and give us that language that we can incorporate here, kind of best practices throughout the state that they've seen. All of the departments that we've talked to so far have been very willing to designate time and staff to help us.
How about as far as state agencies willing to provide technical assistance
That's what they
for
are. Yes.
for the general plan?
They kind of see it as both. It's like here's the language that we can put into our general plan, but here's also the process that you need to enact in the land use ordinance. And so we wouldn't stick a process application in our general plan, but they provided those process applications that we can incorporate with our land use plan.
And as far as the state agencies go in regards to public input, are they also providing some guidance in regards to the process for public input?
Mm.
What does that look like?
They all do, and it's just all following that same chapter within LUDMA that requires specific notices for specific things. So where these are tied in a general plan and a land use ordinance, then you do have to go to the appropriate public hearings at both Planning Commission and the Commission. And so both of them are very cognizant of that. They're also cognizant of the fact that we've got to push this and have the public presentations, whether it's collaborative committees or just reaching out to the public so that they can weigh in and have input within these processes as well.
As you're working on getting technical assistance from the state agencies, what is your goal in regards to when the state agencies become available? Who would they be working specifically with? The commission or the planning commission? What does that look like for you?
So yes to that. They can come in and present at both bodies on there. They had recommended in Friday's meeting, meeting with the special service districts that specifically oversee the water usage within our county and have the discussion. They're willing to come down and have the discussion with them specifically so that they also understand what the county is asking for, more importantly, what the state is asking for in those processes and procedures. And so, but all of them continue to point, well, as we work through planning commission, that we have the appropriate public hearing, that you also on the general plan have the appropriate public vetting is what I'd call it, whether it's open houses or charrettes. They recognize that fact in the process. And basically kind of the way that I see the state is set up is these opportunities to utilize these departments within the state of Utah for their subject matter expertise so that we can get it looking correct and common across all counties within the state.
When CERTA comes to provide guidance on the general plan, when are they scheduled to meet with the Planning and Zoning Commission?
So this next planning commission we'll give them an update on what we've learned and what we've got to do, especially when it comes to meeting with the special service districts. And that's kind of when you look back at the way that we've structured our planning commission bylaws. We have a specific at-large appointment for somebody that sits on a special service district. Part of that was to have those decisions that come before planning being made by somebody with that subject matter expertise on water. We have that, and so we'll be updating planning commission and then scheduling meetings with the special service districts right after.
So it sounds like that's coming
The
up
11th.
this month in
The
September, the 11th.
So next week.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all my questions.
I have some questions.
Commissioner Martin has a question.
So I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of Commissioner Harvey, unless you got a hefty bank account, but piggyback off some of his things. So I just some more clarification on this. So when we first talked about the general plan and not outsourcing it, but doing it with the sources that we have, I felt like it kind of came out as, it's only 3 pages. It's quite simple to do. So now I feel like we're getting into the weeds. We're getting into this complex process. So I guess maybe when I'm asking kind of the same questions as Commissioner Harvey is a timeline. First of all, I think what I would like to see is I would like to see attached for our next meeting or in an email the 3 pages that we're looking at. We need to see exactly what we're looking at and what to expect and what needs to be changed, because if those are the 3 things we need to button down to then go to the land use ordinance, and then we can roll over to the land use ordinance, then that's one thing. But if we're trying, I feel like it was, just these 3 pages, let's get this done. And now we've just got this hefty lift, which I understand the water portion. I don't disagree with that and making sure it's done correctly. But I would like us to have the original attached. I would like any changes that have been made by the time our next meeting comes around. Also a timeline established so we can see. I'm sorry, what else? Oh, okay. To see when that's really going to happen, because as simple as it sounded in the beginning, and that's why we established to take it on, It feels very complex now. So I think we need to reel it back a little bit, find out exactly where we're at. So that is my request, is that we see the original, where we're at, and so forth. And I think Jen said he had a comment.
Well, just, so maybe a clarification on, the general plan, for example, with water,
Would address things like, okay, the decision makers in the county and with public input, we feel like we're going to be in a certain water need in 10 years, 20 years. So the general plan would explain steps that need to be taken to get to that point. The ordinance itself will implement the general plan. So when it comes to water, like Mac was saying, anytime a new home is built, for example, there's an assessment as you go down. One of the issues is, well, do we have power? Do we have sewer? You know, all the hookups, and water is one of them. So if the city got to a point where it didn't have enough water for new builds, they would have to say building is stopped until we get more water figured out. So I, you know, Mac can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's not that we have to have all the agreements, all the fine details signed and delivered, so to speak, but the plan has to be in place. So there'll be some input from districts and so forth, but I at least don't view the water portion, even the agricultural portion, to be something that would take, you know, months and months and months. It would be more like, you know, we need to decide what the needs are and the goals are, adequately explain that and the steps to get there, and that's your general plan. It will be in progress as we go forward. So if we know that we need to come up with X amount more water for expected growth, then from the time the general plan is approved, the land use portion, until the time we actually get that water in place might be, you know, take some time. So anyway, I don't know if that helps a lot at all, but I don't think it's quite as maybe as long as maybe that sounded.
Two planning and zoning commission meetings, they were talking about the whole plan, the whole land, the whole general plan, and they were going to review. When I was there, they were talking about
Just the
how they're going to
land use.
review the whole thing.
Just the land use.
No, but they were talking. Well, you can review the film. No, they were talking how they were going to do. They needed to finish all of those before they can proceed. Anyway, so everything that has in line about water and things like that, and other counties, they're not very long. It's basically what you say, just there's a backup plan or statement, whatever. Commissioner Harvey, you have a comment?
Madam Chairwoman, I was just going to perhaps give a recommendation you might consider. It might be that we need to align ourselves with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And I would think it would be wise that we sit together with Planning and Zoning Commission so that we're sitting down, we identify the priorities together, and we each know the steps we're going to take moving forward. I think that'll be beneficial. I think in communication moving forward is critical because we have our priorities, and I'm sure planning and zoning probably have their priorities too. But if we can find time to sit down as commission and planning and zoning with our administrator, we need to get on the same page, I think. I think that would be critical as we move forward. So that would be my best recommendation, Madam Chair, if you'll consider that. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey, this morning, right at that point in our early meeting about us getting together, and Max said that we're getting together in what, the next commission meeting?
We could schedule them in on the
We're going to have a work
16th.
meeting where we're going to work.
Yeah, 16th
But,
of September.
Also, I want to say that all these things about the regarding the general plan haven't been things that have been talked about in the process, getting connection of people line up to help us. And so it's not something that just happened. It has been going for 2 or 3 months, trying to find resources. And so my suggestion would be that we continue working on the things with people that are willing to help us right now. And they have lined up to assist us, that we continue with that. And then we can also bring this up when we have the 2 commissions together. And so because we were already working on those things, trying to line up people that would not cost us money. And we have found lots of good people so willing to help us. And so we don't want to right now put a stop to that. And then they may get busy because they were waiting to give us their time. And so now it's coming. So I agree with you. I think we should do both. We continue to work on the things we have lined up, and then we can communicate with the planning and zoning, which was something that I asked this morning if that would be a possibility. So
Okay.
anyway,
So if I can just reiterate, if we can
Three,
have, if
so I
we can
got-
have something,
The original.
well, we've got to have
suggested
something
changes,
tangible that we are looking at and that we are
suggested
looking at.
changes, and then
Yes.
we can discuss those on the 16th
Perfect.
of September with the planning commission.
Okay.
All
Thank
at the
you.
same time.
so there's no action here. Just
update. Okay, I'm good.
okay. So we move to the business action since
Okay. Yes, we're now on business action items. You have the presentation and approval of the 2024 fiscal year audit report by Larson and Company. We have John Hatterley here to kind of give this presentation and overview of where we're at within our audit.
see how good we
John,
do.
welcome.
Thanks for all this.
We love that book.
Take one down and pass it down.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be quick. I know you guys have a long meeting. Thanks for letting us take a few minutes. Just kind of update you on us finalizing the audit for fiscal year 2024. We'll just go over our opinions, what we're giving an opinion on, what we don't give an opinion on. And then just a couple of changes in the financial reporting for this year. Things are going to look a little bit different, just to kind of keep you guys updated. So we're going to start on page 1 of the bound together copy. So this is the audit report, always precedes the financial statements. The first 3 paragraphs contain our opinion on the financial statements. So that's the primary scope of our audit, is the financial statements. It's an unmodified opinion or an unqualified opinion. That's a clean opinion in our world. That third paragraph just outlines that we didn't audit the San Juan Mental Health, Substance Abuse, and the Mental Health Service District. Those were audited by other auditors, and it kind of gives a percentage of the discrete component units, so you kind of know how much they make up of those component units. And then the Transportation District, that just had an agreed upon procedure, so it was unaudited. But that's only 4%, 7%, and 2% of the net assets, net position, and revenues of the component units. So that one is really scoped out of our audit, so it doesn't really affect our opinion. But they are having an agreed upon procedure. The next paragraph just outlines our guidelines that we have to follow, both generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. There are differences between the two. The next section is just your responsibility. So ultimately, you're responsible for the information contained in the financial statements as well as the presentation in the financial statements. And then that second paragraph, I think this is going to change. You're going to see a wording change in the next couple of years. Right now, as it stands, it just, you're required to look for conditions or events that could prohibit you from continuing as a going concern, at least for the next 12 months or thereafter. The reason why I think it's going to change is because going concern for a government doesn't really make any sense. How many governments do you know that just fold up shop and stop, right? Even during COVID, which is the real basis for why this is here, nobody wanted to talk about the effects of COVID on their businesses, the shutdowns, everything else. It did affect governments, but no governments went out of business. So there's going to be wording change just because going concern really has no place in the government world. So you'll see a change probably in the next couple of years in that regards. All right, so if you want to flip to the next page. So what's not covered under our opinion, there's a couple sections in the financial statements, the management's discussion analysis that always follows the audit report and precedes the statements. And then after the notes to the financial statements, there's a section called required supplementary information. Both of those sections are not considered part of the basic financial statements, but GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, requires that those always attach themselves to the statements for more readability and more understandability. So if you're not the kind of person that likes to get into the weeds of the numbers and do a lot of financial analysis, then the MD&A is a good place to read. It's more of a Reader's Digest version of what's contained in the financial statements. If you're used to looking at private company financial statements, a lot of times they'll do comparative data. So they'll have this year and then they'll have the most previous year. So you can compare side to side. But governmental financial statements, there's not a lot of room to do that because of the way the statements are laid out and because you're dealing with multiple funds. So comparative statements don't really happen very often in government. That's why we have the MD&A. So there's a lot of comparative data in the MD&A between this year and last year. All right, so now we're going to flip back to page 74. So this report, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This report just outlines that we've performed your audit in accordance with government auditing standards. A part of those standards say that we have to look at your controls to make sure that A, you have controls, and B, they're actually functioning. And if we find any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, we have to outline them as part of this report. However, we found none, so we're going to move on to the next report. The next report is for the state auditor. Every year they issue a compliance guide of things that they feel relevant, that they want us to test. The ones that were applicable to the county this year were budgetary compliance, so making sure that you have budget integrity, fund balance, justice courts, restricted taxes, the fraud risk assessment, and then government fees. So we actually give an opinion on your compliance and your control over that compliance, but it's very specific to these 6 areas. It's not an opinion on the entirety of Utah State Code, and it's also not a legal opinion. We're not attorneys, and so it's frustrating to me that everybody always calls it the legal compliance guide. It's not a legal compliance guide. We're not giving a legal opinion. All we're giving opinion on is whether or not you were in compliance with those certain codes and whether or not you have the controls in place to make sure that you remain in compliance. So that's also an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. All right, if you want to flip to page 78. So this report is for the federal government. Anytime you spend $750,000 more of federal dollars in a year, then you're required to have a separate single audit. A lot of people, it's referred to now as the uniform guidance. It used to be OMB 133. So every federal grant that you receive has certain conditions attached to those grants, certain compliance requirements. And our job is to identify the major programs. So we go through every program based on the dollar amount that you spent, the risk of the grant, and whether or not there's notification from the federal agencies. We determine which programs are major and have to be tested. And then we test both your control over all of your grants and then the compliance with those major programs. This is also an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. And just by way of information, if you want to flip to the next page, on page 80 and 81, this is a schedule of all of your federal awards. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can see that you roughly spent about $3.5 million in federal dollars. If you want to flip over to page 83, this gets also submitted to the federal government. This is a summary of our audit. The first section primarily deals with your financial statement audit. There were no material weaknesses identified, no significant deficiencies, and no areas of non-compliance that are required to be communicated. The next section deals primarily with the federal single audit. There also were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. We issued an unmodified opinion on your federal programs. And there were no findings that are required to be disclosed. The major program that we tested this year is the American Rescue Plan Act, so ARPA. That's actually probably going to start going away. I think you have to have all of your money spent by the end of 2026. It should have already been obligated, but you should be winding that down. And then the dollar threshold determining between type A and type B. So type A has a higher probability of being a major program. Type B, if you don't have enough type A for us to get enough coverage, then we start picking type B programs. And that differentiation is the 750,000. That can go up if you have a significant amount of federal dollars spent. And then that last one, if you qualified as a low risk auditee, yes, the county qualifies as a low risk auditee. If it's no, it doesn't mean that you're somehow high risk. It's either you're low risk or you're not low risk. And what that means is in the prior 2 years, you have to have a single audit. Both of the previous 2 years, they have to be timely filed, and you can have no findings either in the financial statements or in the federal award programs. And what that it means more to us as auditors, we have to test more of your federal programs if you are not low risk. And I mean, ultimately, it's going to increase your fees, but so we like to see it where you have reports that are timely filed every year and that there's no findings. If you want to turn to page 84, this is a summary of the findings both this year and last year. There were no findings in the current year related to the financial statements or Utah state compliance, and also no federal award findings noted in the current year. Last year, there was one finding, and that's just presenting quarterly reports to the commission. But based on some of the reports that we looked at this year, that looks to have been addressed and corrected. Hopefully that practice continues. So a couple of things that are different this year. If you want to turn to page, and this will be the last thing I point out because this is really the big change for this year. If you want to turn to page 14. So this is your balance sheet. In a government, they call it the statement of net position. If you look under the capital assets, under the asset section, you have buildings, improvements, autos and trucks, heavy equipment, light equipment, machinery equipment, and then right to use assets. We've got a lot of questions on the right to use assets. That's the new lease standards. So now that's what they're called. Previous to this, both under the Financial Accounting Standards Board as well as the Government Accounting Standards Board, you had capital leases and operating leases. Capital leases meant you capitalize the asset. Operating just meant that it ran through your profit and loss. However, now you have a section in your capital assets that it's the right to use somebody else's asset. So that's where the terminology comes from. And then you'll have a corresponding liability. If you are the lessor, then you will have a lease receivable for that asset of future inflows. So that was kind of the big change on the financial statements, and that kind of caused a little bit of the delay in getting it done, was just whether or not the equipment was actually a lease. For some reason in the state of Utah, a lot of governments will go purchase equipment, but they'll issue money or a loan through the bank, and they call that a lease bond, or they'll call it a lease loan, when in reality you're buying the equipment from John Deere, but you're getting a loan from Zion's Bank. It's not truly a lease. You're actually purchasing that. Now you're just paying for it, but everybody gets confused because it's called a lease revenue bond or whatever. And so we had to make sure that the assets were actually under a lease type agreement, that there weren't any cancellation policies within that. And so that just getting all that information squared away with both the county and the agencies where that equipment came from. And then with the component units, just like to stress, if you can stress as a county, just to have their auditors get their audit reports done as soon as possible. I know that the deadline is June 30th for all of the government agencies that have a December year end. But us, where we're auditing the county, I prefer to have those done by the end of May. That gives us time to roll them up into your financial statements. So a lot of the districts they'll push back and say, well, we have until June 30th. Yes, that's true, but they're also part of your audit, which is also due June 30th. And so we're getting reports that June 30th or the first week of July, you're already late, and we still have to put all that information into the financial statements, which takes quite a bit of time to finalize all that. So we're trying to push all of our counties to push their component units. I'm working with the state auditor to change that deadline so that any component unit has to have their financial reports done a month early. So if you can do that, I would greatly appreciate the influence that you have on the districts to get their auditors to get those done on time. Any questions for me? If you don't have any questions now and you have questions later, I am always happy to chat. You can get my number from Mac.
Online. Is he still online? Did you have any questions, Pete? I saw Pete online before.
Peter was online, yeah. Yeah, I think he's still here.
Hi,
Hey,
Pete. Do you have any questions?
We can
We cannot
see
hear
you, but
you.
we can't hear you. Now try. Oh, nothing. We don't hear any sound from you. We tested it earlier and it
We're
worked.
gonna put your heads up. You're gonna take.
Sideways. Still, for some reason, it's not picking
He's
up your
lying.
audio.
John, how
We
many
can see
million
you
do we
just
have
fine.
in
Can't
extra
hear you.
funds?
If you have
Based on your
questions,
audit.
give us a thumbs up.
Based on the audit?
We have
Well,
1 million
since it's
extra?
8 months after year end, I don't know if I can answer that question because I don't know how much money you've spent this year. But I will say, you as a governing body, what you need to look at, everybody gets hung up on the government-wide statements. And they show a completely different picture than what you know as a commission group. I get a lot of questions from a lot of commissioners because it will say that you've either made money on your government-wide, and so you think that you're making all this money. But the difference between the statements, so if you look at page 14 again and page 15, these two statements are considered the government-wide, and it presents the governmental activities as well as the business type activities. But this is on the economic resources. So you're going to see all of your capital assets, all of your infrastructure, any debt, long-term. And as you know, in fund accounting, that doesn't really exist because in fund accounting, you're looking at what money do you have available this year to pay your bills, right? And so for you guys, you don't really care that you have a whole bunch of infrastructure because you can't use that infrastructure to operate the government. This is more used by external parties. So if you look at page 16, that is the statement that I would actually focus on. In your general fund, you have about $5 million of unrestricted fund balance. Now, as a grain of salt, this is December, right? So now we're in August, September. So things obviously have changed. You have your taxability trust, which always maintains about roughly the same balance, which is about 7.5 million. And then in the B Road Fund, you've got about 18 million of fund balance that it could be used for roads, but that's restricted just for roads. So unrestricted, as of December, you had about 5 million. I would actually like to see that number go up if that was
Me too.
me as an auditor.
Where should it be?
I mean, the law changed, so now I think you guys can have 50% of your revenue plus your property taxes. So I would really like to see that be around 30% of your next year's operating expenses, especially where you're going to operate almost the entire year without that property tax revenue. So you're going to have to kind of float that the money that you get in November of this year is going to have to carry you through until November of next year. But who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? But if we have another event like a COVID, where people can't pay their bills, they can't pay their property taxes, not getting sales tax revenue, then you want to be able to have enough of a fund balance. Now, the tax stability trust, that's what that intent is kind of a little nest egg. But you have that, plus if you can build up your general fund a little bit, I think your B road is fine. I mean, you're going to get a lot of B road money, but that's, like I said, that's very restricted money. You can only spend it on certain things. For general operations, you've really got to be looking at your general fund.
And another thing we have is kind of like COVID, the federal government is cutting down lots of federal funds, and we are very, very dependent on federal funds. So sometimes we may see that extra money, think we have extra money, but we don't know when the money is going to start trickling to San Juan County.
Yep.
So we had to make sure that we have, it's easy to sacrifice a little bit and have to lay off workers if we cannot afford.
So maybe this is my opinion. This is what I see as an auditor looking across the state and the country. I mean, I review financial statements from all over. What I see is, yes, there's a huge scale back in spending from the federal government. However, if you are a good steward of that money, you'll actually find that you'll probably get more money. What they're cutting back on is people who are not spending it wisely, and they're not doing it the right way. So I'm not saying that you're going to get more money, so don't take it as I'm saying, hey, you're going to get a bunch more money.
I understand that. My thing is, San Juan County is always want to get things last, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We need more voices to represent us, but I have faith in this government that things are going to work good. We just have to not get ahead and start spending the money that we think we're going to get.
Yep.
Because we're going to do better if we just kind of be careful and wait, and things are going to work out better for us.
Yep. And right now it is an unknown. And so you're right. You're right on.
Commissioner has a comment?
Yeah. In the letter that you provided, there were some significant risks identified. And in reviewing those, I see that there were risks identified, but you did test them.
Yes.
So passed the test. Am I correct on those?
Yes. This is a question that we get a lot. So this is something now that we're required to communicate both in our engagement letter and then in our closing letter. All of our audits are risk-based. So if you look at the financial statements, every line item in there is assigned a risk. So that's part of our planning procedures is we go through every category and we say, okay, we're looking at cash or capital assets or debt or revenue or expenditures, and we assign a risk. Based on you're a government, based on just the nature of industry. Some of it's just based on our standards. And so we'll assign risk, and based on that risk, we either have to plan additional procedures or we can do basic audit procedures based on our standards. So for example, if we're comparing cash and capital assets, what we're worried about in the financial statements is the valuation. So are you overstating your assets or understating your assets, or are you overstating or understating your liabilities? So those are risks in our audit, right? So if we're looking at capital assets, it's very easy to determine historical value because we can look at what you purchased those assets for, and it's really easy to identify those assets. So we can look and see that you have this building or you have a piece of equipment. So the risk for capital assets is lower than it would be for cash, because cash is easy to misrepresent. You can inflate your cash. You can also misappropriate cash very easily. It's really hard to pick up this building and take it, or steal a county vehicle without you noticing that it's gone. Cash is a lot easier to misappropriate. It's also easy to mislead in the financial statements. And so we go through each of those areas. And then we have overall risks. So these are the significant risks that we have in our audit. So improper revenue recognition, that's considered a significant risk based on government auditing standards. So that has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with you. Our standards say, and this goes all the way back to Arthur Anderson and Enron. So if you are old enough to remember what it would have been, late late 90s, early 2000s. So Enron was fictitiously inflating their revenue to make their shareholders happy. And Arthur Andersen, their auditing firm, was buying off on it. They were involved in it. And then the whole house of cards crumbled. So our standards changed that said we have to recognize revenue as a significant risk. That means that we have to plan specific tests over revenue to make sure that there's not misrepresentations in the financial statements being caused by any risk, by those significant risks, by inflating revenue. Cash disbursements, you're a government entity, you're dealing with public funds. Public wants to know how you're spending your money, so that becomes a significant risk. And then that last one, potential management bias estimates and the ability to override controls, that's also under our standards has to be recognized as a significant risk, because that's typically where fraud happens. So revenue, and then the ability to override controls. So the best way to explain that last one is, so in your system, everything should be based on a single transaction. So as somebody pays their property taxes, it's going to be assessed. That's going to create a receivable in the system and a revenue. And then when they pay that, it's going to pay off that receivable and you're going to collect cash. So those are individual transactions, and you have thousands of transactions that build your financial reporting for any given period. If you have a mistake or you need to correct something, you do that with a journal entry. So that's overriding the transaction control. But with that ability to do that, you can also change the system inappropriately to make it look better. So what we do there is we look at every journal entry that's created in the system the entire year and make sure that we understand what it's doing, that it's been authorized, that it's doing what it's supposed to, and that it's appropriate. Bias. So in your notes or in the financial information, you can make things appear better than what they really are. So what we're looking at, especially in the note disclosures, is that they're unbiased and that they're fair and they're neutral. So we see this in a lot of cases with potential litigation. Nobody wants to talk about litigation. In fact, nobody wants to talk about it in their notes anyways, but it's a required disclosure. If you're under litigation and you have potential liability, then you have to disclose, hey, here's what's going on, here's our liability. You don't want to self-incriminate yourself, because their attorneys are going to say, well, they think they're going to lose and they're going to have to pay $20 million. So that's what we're going to set our award at, is $20 million, because they already think they're going to lose. So you don't want to self-incriminate yourself, but you have to paint the real picture of, we're uncertain, we're fighting it, but it doesn't look like we're going to win, right? And then, other notes you can build bias in the way that you say things in there that make things look better or paint a better picture of what reality is in the county. So you're misleading the users of the financial statements. That's why there's significant risks. It really doesn't have anything to do with anything that you guys have done or us as auditors. It's just, sometimes it's just our standards that say we have to identify them, and then we have to plan specific tests targeting those risks to make sure that there's not errors in the financial statements.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's
Anything else? All right.
Peter mentioned that he didn't have any comments, but I do just want to extend my gratefulness to John and the company. His staff have been really great to work with, but also Peter and Lyman, and Bent was part of this as well, just getting it together. These audits are independent but never super fun, but yet every requirement, I always wonder at the end of the day how it's going to turn out, but we sure appreciate their help.
We appreciate Peter too, sticking around a little bit. I know that was kind of he left right when we were doing field work, and so we didn't know how that was going to work out, but it turned out right.
It worked out in the end, and so I appreciate your guys' help with this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be careful heading to Grand. All right. So the next item on our agenda is consideration and approval of a contract with Lexipol LLC for policy services with the Sheriff's Office. You have Sheriff Lacey here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So when Sheriff Eldridge was the sheriff, they got Lexipol for our sheriff's office policies for patrol. This is just a contract to add our jail policies into that same Lexipol contract online system where people can see them and get daily trainings on those policies and procedures. Plus, we're going to add the supplemental manuals that does
Can
our.
you stop for a minute?
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
we have to make a motion to approve
Which one are you looking
the
at?
report number 10.
Got it.
Do we have to approve number 10?
So item number 10 was the presentation you just heard on there. Oh, make a motion, huh?
Yep.
Sorry. Wow, I just jumped right ahead.
So,
It's lunchtime.
do we have a motion?
I'll make an unmodified motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Are you modifying something or just modifying because we made a mistake?
Unmodified motion.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you for that. Sorry about that, Sarah. I was just gung ho, ready to go. So,
When you stay up all night reading documents, you're going to have a hangover the next day.
I get it. So a couple years back, Sheriff Eldridge got Lexipol as our policy manager. That updates every year with legislative updates and different things, and so we stay on top of our policies that are in line with state law that gets approved for that year. I'm proposing we do the same thing for our jail policies. Instead of having our jail commander update the policies on his own, it'll save time for the jail commander to do other things inside that policy manual that they do automatically, that we just have to approve and update in that policy. It comes with daily training bulletins where they get a scenario with a question and have to read the policy and see what the best selection is, and it goes towards our yearly training of the 40 hours. Plus, we're going to add the supplemental manuals, which does our SOPs and our other procedural jail bookings and patrol stuff, arrests and stuff like that are inside our procedures, but we don't have them written down. And it's going to, so I've talked to them and we've got them to give it to us from now until December for our next budget hearing and everything, that we can add this to the next year's budget instead of going from this year's budget.
I have a question. You have money in the budget?
Pardon?
My question is that you have money in the budget.
It'll have to get approved for next year's budget. So
Okay.
this year they're giving us
Okay.
the 4 months for free
Okay.
to get it all set up, grab our policies that we have in place for the jail and get them transferred over to
So it's
Lexipol.
about 10,000 something per year.
Yeah, it's going to be an added. Well, I think this is just a one-time thing. We pay a yearly fee, but I don't
Okay.
think that's going to be I don't know the yearly fee from there on out.
Okay.
So
Commissioner, do you have any question? Commissioner? No question.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve.
I do have a question. Because if this doesn't come in until the budget of next year, do we really need to approve it? Because wouldn't we approve it with the budget?
we have to approve the
You pay it?
contract
So they can get
Okay.
started.
so they can start getting
Okay.
stuff into
Yeah.
place.
All right.
he does have a 5% discount now. Oftentimes our service providers are like this. If you sign up now, you'll get a discount, and before the year end,
Yeah.
price increases. And so
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, Sarah. Sorry about that hiccup there. All right.
He
the
had
next-
a gun on him. He
Uh,
should have been careful.
Totally. So the item number 12 is consideration and approval of a resolution of the San Juan County Board of Commissioners approving the reclassification of eligible emergency medical service employees into the appropriate Utah retirement system. We've got Tranner here to present this one. Tranner.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am here on behalf of the EMS personnel. This year, the state of Utah has approved legislation that would put the EMS employees into the firefighter safety URS lane. And so one of the stipulations that they told us we had to go through is a resolution with the commissioners to approve this, because there will be an increase in the percentages we pay into the URS system on behalf of the, excuse me, on behalf of the employees. And so we are bringing this to the commissioners to pass this resolution. It will be, the increase on the personnel will be a 6.34% increase. And so we'll be moving from that tier 11, so the very top lane, down to tier 23, down to fund 23. So their percentage, they will increase what they have to pay into their retirement, but the county's portion will also increase. And so as of right now, we do have 3 eligible employees in the EMS department. And so speaking with Mac and speaking with Jeremy, who is the head of the department, he recommended this lane change going forward, partially for his retirement, but also in recruiting. And that's, in talking with Mac about this, that's something the county wants to get on board with, just so as we're looking in the future and looking to recruit personnel into the EMS department, that we are on board. So I would,
It's another perks to attract people.
another perk to bring people to San Juan County.
Yeah.
There are some adjustments that we'll have to make with this, where it's effective October. We would begin paying out this transition here next month, and so we will have to go back through kind of the benefits piece within that fund, make those adjustments, because there will be more coming out for their retirement.
Right, and on there I put October 1st. There's some requirements I have to get done after the resolution is passed with the state or with the URS in order for the change to take effect. So just giving us a little lead time to make sure we're compliant on our end.
So, for example, so typically one is on line 11, right, with local government. I missed
Correct.
that one. So if we went there, we go to line 23. We're looking at like. So if I go to my total from 1796 to 3458, we're looking at like $16.62 difference, right?
So that's a percentage rate
That's a percent per month or per pay period.
per pay period per employee.
Okay, and it's 3 employees only.
Right now it's 3
Okay.
employees.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner, have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Rosa.
Thank you, commissioners.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you for tu trabajo lindo. Oh, man. Okay. What's this, Mac?
Okay, the next one
13?
on here is consideration and an overview of the 2026 Rural County Grant Budget with the state of
And
Utah.
it's Talia, she's not here.
This is the one that she was going to apply for. Let me pull it up real fast. So every year we're provided with $200,000 from the state for economic development purposes. And in the past, we've always had the economic development staff bring this to you of where we would spend the funds. And so you kind of see her breakdown on here of the $200,000. Last year, for example, we did the base camp economic development grants, things like that
There
in
she
there.
come.
So on here, she's got the economic development staffing capacity and operations of 30,000, 27,000 going to base camp, which if you didn't get a chance to go last year, you missed out. This is starting to become a state renowned economic development base camp, and so it's super cool the feedback that we're getting back from there of people that want to join and want to present and want to help out. And so it's turning out to be a super cool thing. You also have the Eastern Utah Economic Summit Contribution, Eastern. So not Easter, this is the Eastern through CERTA. And then you have the event sponsorship and then business support grants on here. So the business support grants, 140,000 is what we would release next year for business support.
I just want to make a comment. Working with Talia in community development is exciting because we got to see the progress of the pizza place in Blanding. We got to see the chairs being put together that we contributed with the grant.
It
and
was
the
open last
counter,
night.
Yeah,
and the
it's good pizza.
tables, and it was so full.
Really?
We were for an hour. We were sitting there. We saw people that we haven't seen in a long time there.
Oh.
Anyway, but it's a side component to that being in that board is when they allocate the money. And Kaden is in the board. We had 130,000, 40,000
140,000, yeah.
to give last year, and we had over $1 million requests
Ask, yep.
for small business ideas. And it's a sad because everybody comes with a dream, and sometimes it's such a little dream as far as cost, but the money only can go so far. And then it was fun because people are waiting and they don't know if they're gonna get. It's kind of like the Oscar night, basically. And we had checks that were the size of
They're good size.
big size and big money checks. And good thing Brian wasn't there. I wonder why I got the money because I was signed by Sylvia stuff. Anyway, but it was nice as people came to receive them, to receive the money, the gratitude that they had, and as they received this. And so it was nice for us, me and Talia, to keep going to the pizza place and see the progress. And we told them we are not inspected, we're just cheerleaders.
We are cheerleaders. I would want to add, just so you know, one of the things that with the grant funds that we get through here, the way that I've designed them is to prepare them for be able to apply for other state grants. So right now there's the EAG grant that you heard about earlier. 5 of our businesses that applied qualify. They are all already set up. So I'm going to be emailing them and assisting them through that process. And that is focused around those that are in agriculture and manufacturing. So if they weren't able to get the grant from this grant, the idea is that they're prepped for other grants that I know that they can be eligible for in the future. And the other thing too is that, again, we're going to go and see if we can get match money so that we increase it. My goal is that we actually can give almost 300,000 away this year. And part of the reason I want to do that is because we did have a lot of businesses affected by the fires. And so if it's possible, we might be able to have another portion of that grant that can be set aside with those additional funds to help them kind of recoup and restart.
Also, along with the fire, I have been invited to participate with, what's the name of the county? They had a fire by the rim of the Grand Canyon. Coconino County, and I have been into in the meetings. And they're going to come and visit us. We're going to go and I'll get with you. We'll take a tour.
Oh, that'd be great.
They have a list of grants that we can apply, and it's so nice because this is Arizona. People from many places from Arizona, they have information on different grants, and so anyway, they meet weekly, and so it's a really good source for us to work with them, and plus get to hear what other counties are doing. King County is with that group, and I think Garfield too, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll get back with you. So should be another source for us to help them. LaSalle, and most of the grants are private organization.
Part of the funds that are under training and base camp are to actually start a grant writing workshop series that help people be able to write their own grants in the future and do their own grant management so that we can get more funds coming into our county, which is really interesting because our county qualifies for quite a few different things. It's just we're not applying, and so the money is sitting there or it's not being used, and so I really want to make sure we're capturing that in the future. So for this one, I need your support because it was due on Monday. Once we're awarded, then I will come back with the agreement.
Well, you go get
But-
a letter and I'll sign it after the meeting.
Okay.
So we have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Corre rápido.
Claro.
Okay, this next one here on your agenda, item number 14, consideration and approval of letter of intent between Airbuild and San Juan County. You had their presentation earlier in work session.
Do you guys have any questions on the letter of intent? Okay. Great.
By the way, if you guys do, I'm the knowledge base, so shoot them off.
No questions, so we have a motion.
So I will make a motion to approve this letter of intent.
I'll second the motion as long as we get a signature with it.
Do you want to sign it? No. Anyway, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Okay.
I guess the only thing I would ask is that you continually keep us updated with your study group or studies and everything else. So
We
that
can
know
we
your
can do that.
potential sites and where we're at with that. That'd be great.
Yeah. We can do that. Would you like that in work session or would you like that in an email update? Just
Either.
either?
I don't
Okay.
care.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we get to hear from?
Okay, item number 15. Did we do an approval on that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just
Finished it.
Sure. Okay, consideration and approval of a resolution of the City Council of Monticello placing the PAR tax review on the 2025 ballot. And so
That means
Yeah, we received
PAR,
can I do that? That means
this from the city of Monticello, and it caught our attention because it requires it be placed on the ballot, and we've got about 2.5 weeks to get this approval. And so I quickly put it on the commission agenda. I saw that Caden had arrived, and so I asked him to come and describe what it is that we're putting on the ballot, but I'll need the commission's approval at the end, and then we will have it on the ballot for the Monticello election.
Yes, so this is only for the city of Monticello election. What this is it's called the PAR tax, the ZAP tax, the RAP tax, the zoo tax. You can name anything under recreation and parks and art, and this tax has some form of name. What this is it's 1/10 of a 1% addition to the sales tax for the city of Monticello. Those funds come in and were originally approved back in 2008 when we built the pool facility. And the city's intent with this money is to use that money to go towards the loan payment for building the new pool facility back in 2008 to 2010 era. The law requires some interesting things. I find out state law is very confusing, but every 10 years we must take this to the public to have them vote on whether to continue the tax or whether they would like it to end. It's one of those taxes that only really has a 10-year shelf life and then continues. What we have found, and I will be completely honest, is this hasn't been voted on since 2008. So we are very out of date when it comes to this tax. The state got a hold of us about 2 weeks ago and said, we need to look at this like immediately. So we looked at it.
The sheriff left.
So the state is willing to work with us on this. That's why we've brought it to you guys in such a rush versus taking the time with this. One of the most important things we do need from you guys is a declaration that the county will not impose a ZAP tax. If you guys were to move forward with your own tax, the cities in your jurisdiction would be unable to have the tax. So that's one of the state requirements is the county A has to approve it to go on the ballot, but B has to agree that they do not intend to impose this tax. With discussions with MAC, I'm not sure where you could apply the money based on what you guys have going on in the county, because it has to hit certain requirements of recreation, parks, and art.
So,
or a zoo.
Or
if we-
zoo, yes.
So if we give it to you, do you invite us to the party?
The party will be, we will continue operations like normal.
Well, that's good.
Let's have a little zoo.
So if
Mhm.
a lot of these taxes I find are based on an understanding to the public, it's
Mhm.
a little bit of a short notice. So if you, for example, the pool with this project, and so
Mhm.
you say this tax fails, and you have already constructed something based kind of on that tax. What obviously it
It's-
falls back on.
Exactly. It's not
Correct.
the best practice, in my view, understanding the tax law, but it is a way to continue to fund recreation. So a lot of cities have used this and explained to the public, this is so we can fund recreation. We have to state what we're spending it on. So instead of the city saying we're going to put all this money into recreation, they stated they're going to put it to the payment of the pool. If this tax was no longer to be, we would still make those payments. We just have to adjust money elsewhere in the budget.
So, and then I assume that with the ZAP tax, because everybody sees tax but doesn't understand why. So I assume that you're going to have a public portion piece on this somewhere to educate your public a little bit on this.
Yes.
Okay.
When it went through back in 2008, it passed, I think, with very little resistance on it. We will have to do a lot of public discussions. We'll probably wrap it up into our Meet the Candidates nights that we plan on doing here in September, just so those who are there and wanting to know more will also get more information about this that'll be on the ballot.
Thank you.
Did we make a motion? Or you have a question?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, this next one is consideration and approval of an ordinance granting to Questar Gas Company, DBA Enbridge Gas, Utah, franchise for the construction, operation, and maintenance of gas distribution systems in San Juan County, state of Utah, throughout our entire county. And so this is, in essence, the franchise agreement that, so our current franchise agreement that we've been working with Questar has expired. These are a 20-year agreement, so just so you know that very seldom do we see these, but we just approved one for Rocky Mountain Power a couple months ago that was similar in nature to this franchise agreement. So a lot of it has to do with just the utilities in itself. There is coordination that is required to take place with the county on making sure that we have the appropriate easements, rights of way, things like that as we develop throughout the county. And so this is kind of recognizing that they are that entity that does provide gas throughout the county, and then we will coordinate with them with our road department, planning, things like that.
Any questions? No question? We have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 The motion passes.
Okay. On this next one here is the consideration and approval of the 2025 Predator Control Management Contract with the State of Utah Department of Agriculture on food. This one here is a $6,000 commitment. Every year we've entered into a contract with the state to control. Typically, what you see on this is coyotes throughout
How about
the county
skunks?
from the state trapper.
Do they control skunks?
The skunks. Well, I guess they're a predator for chickens, but it's
Oh
mainly
man,
your
the city of
coyotes.
Blondie has a property next to us.
Yeah.
First of all, this cute little skunk coming, you can count them, and now they're getting big, and I am afraid to go to my backyard.
So when they do the predator control throughout the county, they will notify us, and a lot of times we will see the state trapper. People like that will come down and trap coyotes that are getting heavy, especially when they pose a danger and a hazard to our ranchers, livestock, things like that. As they call it in, there's these funds that kind of go to support. In the past, we haven't used a lot of funds that the county's contributed to this system, and so we spent down the funds that were there, and now it's time to to start working to replenish those so that the choppers, as they go out, they can use those funds.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, real quick. So this goes to the trapper, not to the person who's
If you bring in
whose
an
rancher was. Did if they had damage, can the
a
rancher?
depredation type thing
The rancher cannot collect up this. This is really only for the trapper.
for the trappers in that program
Okay.
to control.
We get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, so that's that agreement there. The next one on your agenda, you have consideration and approval of agreement to participate in the new national opioids secondary manufacturer settlement agreement against Alvogen, Amneal, Apotex, Hikma, Indivior, Mylan, Sun, and Zydus. Oh, that one medical. So on there, all this really is the agreement that the county is willing to participate, and the settlement will come later. It's really tipping our hat, saying that yes, we do want to participate in the settlement. The attorneys that we've appointed at the state level will really be the ones that will be arguing the cases on the settlement and the settlement award amounts that'll come later. This right now is just the county does want in on these. Where these are secondary, you're kind of starting to see some of the major players in the opioid cases starting to file for bankruptcy. Now they're going after kind of your secondary manufacturers to get rewards from them. We typically don't see a lot of money that is awarded to San Juan County. We're a small population and had a lower amount of opioid damage that they could actually award to. So we're roughly just over 186,000 in awards. So it's not a lot, but it's still something. And we use the money for those type of things that we can. So that's what this is just a choice to participate. Settlement will come later.
Anybody have a question? Or any questions?
I do have a question. So 18 and 19 are both for that settlement.
They're different entities,
Yeah.
so that
Can we make a motion to include both, or you do
no,
need them
they're separate.
Okay.
Yeah, completely separate. They're different companies. So this one here is this secondary manufacturer settlement.
Okay.
The other one is an actual settlement against Purdue and Slacker.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
Motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The resolution passes.
Okay. Similar in nature. This one here is consideration and approval of participating in the new national opioid settlement against Purdue and certain of its affiliates and the Slacker family. So similar in nature. This is our tipping our hat that we do want to participate. Then settlement and everything will come later.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
I'll second it.
Oh, second, sorry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes.
Okay. Awesome. This next one is consideration. So we're on item 20. Consideration and approval of the contract with Kilgore Company, LLC, DBA LeGrand Johnson for the taxi lane and rehabilitation to the airport access road project. Here back in July, you had issued the notice of award to Kilgore. Now we have the actual contract for that construction of $1.9 million in construction costs in total.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Okay. Item number 21 is consideration and approval of the interlocal agreement between Monticello City and San Juan County for building inspection services. Let me jump down to it. My mouse is paused. Okay, this one here is last commission meeting you had tabled. The agreement, and we had reached back out with Monticello City along with our building inspector and kind of worked on some additional modifications for this agreement.
I was just saying hi to my friend.
Oh, so was I a second ago. I was waving as I walked by.
You're my friend too, but I was somebody wave over there.
So in here, kind of when we look at the changes, we did change the term on here so that if San Juan County was out a building official and building inspector, we wouldn't have to wait 180 days, that we could actually jump on that quickly and either sever or go our different ways or try to figure out what to do. In that discussion with Monticello City, we did talk about having kind of an overall regional succession plan of like, okay, if it happens to us again where we're out the building inspector, that we've got some other choices out there that we can, in a pinch, in a clinch, just jump in and go a different route, whether it's through a contracted vendor or other individuals that reside within San Juan County itself and can work within the state of Utah.
Any questions?
No, but thank you for giving us
Yes.
to work through this.
And I
appreciate that.
It was really good to bring it back.
Okay.
I know it was hard, but it was good. We've added some legal terms to it to protect you guys as well as us.
Sure.
The one thing our attorney had emailed me on this morning, he's like, there's 3 phrases that are used that aren't the same. So he's recommending we change those. But other than that, he's like, legally, you're protecting the county's protecting you, you're protecting each other. So everything seemed to look well to him.
Okay.
Other than I mistyped one of the terms and it was my fault. So I will take account for that.
But thank you for looking
So
at that.
you're gonna make the changes and bring it back so we can sign it?
Yes, I was that was my one question for
Yeah.
you guys. With those changes, it's changing inspector to building official and building official to building services to inspection and plan review services. They're very minor changes, but they clarify the role the county and the city
I'll
have.
be here for a while, so if you wanna bring it back. and
Yes,
can sign it.
I will. As soon as I have it, I will bring you the full document with those 2
Okay.
terms changed.
Any other questions or comments?
Did your attorneys have any questions on it? Did you?
No.
Oh, quick. Okay.
Like Commissioner Mott said, thanks for
Yeah,
the extra review and resolving those few items.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
anyway, we have a motion.
A motion to approve.
Do we
Motion
want
to
it with
approve.
the changes?
Approve with the changes. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Is white paper okay for them to use?
And I second that.
She second,
Thank you
all
so
in
much,
favor say
Commission.
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, and I'll be on the phone
Mhm.
on Tuesday. Because I'm supposed to be at UART, so I cannot be on your meeting on Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, there's no public hearings today, so the next thing on your agenda is commission reports.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Harvey, you wanna go first?
Thanks, you guys. See you later.
Sure. I'll just quickly highlight 4 things for my report. First item I just want to share is recent discussions regarding the Montezuma Creek roundabout intersection. I know that Mac and I were involved with working out some details between Navajo Tribal Utility Authority and I think the contractor, Sunshine, is that the
Sunrise Engineering is kind of project manager. Yeah.
Engineering and UDOT. And I think the biggest question at the roundabout was who would assume the street light and the maintenance, I think, was the question. And also the contractor was trying to reconnect the new streetlights to a power box. But because the power company is Navajo Tribal Utility Authority. Navajo Tribal Utility Authority was looking for the owner, and I think UDOT became involved in that process at some point.
Yep.
But as far as I know, things have been resolved, right, Matt?
Correct. Yep. UDOT will
Um,
maintain those or take the assumption of those lights around the roundabout. The last one that I don't know about is just within the school district area.
okay.
We'll
If
follow up with it.
if I understand correctly, there's going to be cameras installed at some point too, isn't there?
There is.
And that links to public safety and price for, is it traffic kind of stuff?
It's for their, yeah, they do have the traffic. If there's a lot of it's road conditions. If you ever downloaded the UDOT app, it's well worth having that app because when we travel, you can pull up those cameras and see what the roads
weather is.
are like. Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be that same type of a system.
Very good. So just a little coordination, I think, on our administrator's part. So appreciate your help on that, Mac. I know the biggest upcoming challenge would be the community there wanted to also get help in lighting the sidewalk pathway from the roundabout to the high school, and then from the roundabout across the elementary school, so that it's more of a city kind of lighting. But I think education is going to be important in regards to helping maybe Anna chapter understand the cost and what it will require to power up those lights, and maybe coordinate with the school district to get the sidewalks, their student sidewalks, lit.
And maybe USU, since the campus, they'll have to walk back and forth to the
Right,
campus too.
right. So that's probably something Commissioner Stubbs and I would have to work with the chapter and maybe revitalization funds on. So that's
Along with that, go by USU, they have new lights. They look like old-fashioned lamps, but it's solar. They're solar lights. They put it all around campus. They really look cute with it, with the roundabouts. You kind of become like France, Italy, or Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
With all the roundabouts, you just need the lights to match.
That's a good idea. But that's my first item. Second item is I think I'm going to need some help, Mac, with Todd to review our road maintenance contract with Navajo Nation. There are, I know, specific roads. I know Todd's priorities is school bus routes. And there's a specific route out in Red Mesa, apparently is a bus route that needs maintenance, and it's a dirt road. And I've been wondering if the dirt road that's in question is on the new annual contract with NDOT. So I'll need some support in kind of doing the research.
I know TJ had reached out to the school district and received a list of all the eligible school routes. School routes require so many students on that, and so that's kind of where we received it. And so let me take a look at that and just see what's going on with it.
And I will try and give you a road number.
Okay.
And then just a real quick mention of the unclaimed road between across the bridge from Montezuma Creek, going through south into the old Phillips camp. it was an oil company maintained road so many years ago, but that strip of road, 2 miles, maybe 3, just getting worse by the minute. And so I'm not sure if we can put our heads together to maybe again, Commissioner Stubbs, find some money to allocate for just the materials portion of it. And probably just an estimation of materials required to repack the potholes might be helpful. I know that Todd has his feelings set on working on unrestricted or restricted roads because BIA always.
Yeah, that's all we get paid for.
And so, anyhow, at least by some chance, if we could just get an estimate of pothole fillers,
Okay.
that would be helpful because that would just at least give Commissioner Stubbs and myself an idea of the required materials to plug those huge gaping potholes. It's going to continue to get worse with the rainy season as it comes and the snow. And so if we can do something, I think that would be great.
And that was Route 293?
I think it's the road south of the Montezuma Creek Bridge, just past the post office. It goes up
the river.
Yeah, it goes from the bridge up the hill, and then it turns left. And then it goes around to the new NHA housing, and then right up to where Navajo Nation paved. So
so it hits the pavement right
Yeah.
there. There's that section.
yeah, I think it's 3 or 4 miles of road, but there's specific areas where they're giant gaping
I know I have
potholes.
people telling me, fix your roads.
Yeah, so that would be helpful,
Yeah.
Mac, if we can just at least get a review of materials that we can use so that we can put a price tag to pothole filler material.
Just road base.
Road-based stuff, yeah. Third item, I know that McElmo Canyon Creek, if you're familiar with Aneth, Utah, they've just recently opened the new bridge. That new bridge is a bridge over McElmo Creek. If you're not aware, that creek is dry, and if you follow the creek, it goes all the way up to the trading post there, right at the state line, the Colorado state line. Aneth chapter president Dr. Karma Claw actually did some homework and found that Colorado created a dam right at the state line, and there is now a huge pool. And she tried to reach out to the state of Colorado farm folks to say, hey, we have downstream farmers and we need some of that water. But she wasn't successful. I think the feedback she got from the representative from Colorado is, I serve my constituents in Colorado, and we've done everything legal because it benefits our Colorado community. So I don't know if that's a water rights situation. Maybe that is impacted in some shape or form. And so there is a need to have a discussion about Utah and whether McElmo Creek is part of that water settlement and quantification. And I don't know who represents our district in our county.
So the state has a dam department And so I can reach out to the dam department and see what they say, because can another state dam up a water resource that comes through and can impact other states, and so
I think
that's the
Generally, no. I mean, we
that's
have
the
to look
Colorado River watershed discussion all over again.
always
Just
have those
lower
downstream-
small level.
those downstream rights, but it gets very complicated. You know, sometimes the upper stream, you have a certain amount they have the
Public
right to
hearings,
use,
yeah.
and then once they've used all theirs, then it goes down. And we just need to look into it. And what county is that?
that is Montezuma, San Juan too. I think San Juan, Colorado.
Because San
Down
Juan,
Yeah,
lower, so
San
probably
Creek.
We got
San
about
Juan
4
or
San Juan
Montezuma Creek.
counties in this area.
Yeah,
You think it
so
might be San Juan County.
so I'm thinking maybe it's Montezuma, Cortez. It's the same county that Cortez sits in.
Montezuma.
It's probably Montezuma.
How big is the dam?
I don't know. I just know that it's been dammed
Taking up the water.
Wow.
and it's got a big pool there.
Recently, just a recent case.
I believe this happened in May.
Wow.
So it's now been June, July, August, September, going for 4 months now. So
Yeah,
But-
let me make some calls and I'll report back to you on
Okay.
what I can find out.
very good. I appreciate that. For sure, it wasn't beavers from Colorado. So, and then my final item is just the Zero Suicide Initiative. It continues to be ongoing. The coalition is composed of San Juan Counseling, Utah Navajo Health System, Behavioral Health Department. Now we got some agencies from the state involved. I think our most recent incident happened again in August in Blanding and was a female. And we will need to prepare for a visit with it's the state of Utah. It's the office that does the medical examiner's office. There is a program now that the state medical examiner's office does, and its work is focused on suicide and victims of suicide and families of victims of suicide. Their work mostly deals with doing follow up with the families and the surviving members that are impacted. And it was quite fascinating to learn their efforts because they work on interviewing the family. There's different points of contact that the medical examiner's office and the program does. First one is collecting information on the victim, kind of in conjunction with the local police department. And then I think they receive laboratory things like toxicology is what they do, medical examination, of course. But then they also work with the local police department to ask questions about what happened, right? And then the next effort is connecting the victims' families with resources to support them. And then the next step, which is them coming down, is actually doing post follow-up with the families to explore even more questions about behaviors, observations that family members had with the victim, and kind of a more in-depth. And I think the goal ultimately is to understand what caused and finding the answers. And that's the work the medical examiner office does. And the biggest piece that they seek is assistance in getting the families to cooperate with their office, to engage with the questions and the services. Because all the victims, most of the victims are Native American. And I can speak for my culture and my community. When it comes to those types of things, there's a cultural piece. And so if you were to approach me on those kinds of subject, because I am traditional, I wouldn't engage because it's not appropriate. And so they want to engage families because they were trying to teach families that if they help, then it allows other families the tools they need to successfully prevent in the future. And so I think there's that piece that they need our support with. And I think it has a lot to do with public health and our mental health providers. But they are planning a trip down. I think it's the same week we're going to be out for NACO. And I'm really tempted to just maybe cut my trip short. But they want to come down and meet our resources in our county and connect with them, and also reach out to the tribal leaders so that we can overcome the barrier of culture and why it's important to engage with participating in families and the medical examiner's efforts. And I didn't know about this program until recently. And I think it's helping understand the kind of what's
To watch for signs.
to watch for signs. And I think my biggest message that I've learned is that our older single adult over the age of 18 young population, they're vulnerable. And they need us. So hopefully this is a piece to solving that mystery and getting prepared to overcome that through our county. So anyhow, I'll send out more clear dates, but I know it's either the 17th or 18th. They're going to come down. I'm going to coordinate with the public health office to make sure the public health board and our mental health and UNHS are going to be part of that conversation with them. I know UNHS has also got the Zero Suicide Initiative Coalition meeting coming up this week. I believe it's this Thursday. And I expect that the coalition, the medical examiner's office will be present to give more information on their outreach into our county and when they'll be coming. So I think that's my biggest piece and my final item that I just wanted to share. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, Commissioner Mon.
Okay, so a couple things is Mac and I we had a meeting with UDOT a few weeks ago, and felt like that was very productive in listening to some of the needs of our county. And actually, they went and laid some more asphalt on the shoulder before you turn right to the big Indian Road, and one of the citizens actually thanked UDOT for doing that. So I feel like that at least put a Band-Aid and plugged it a little bit, which is great. So, and of course, I had a family emergency and so was gone for well over a week. So all commission stuff was set aside, but did join a couple of meetings. The property tax abatement, which is still an ongoing work study group with Senator Cullimore. And so just trying to figure out that whole what's going to happen. And it's not, they're not going to go back. They're not going to stick with what they have. So it's a matter of having a say and a seat at the table regarding what's going to go forward. Next week I'll be gone with the PILT fly-in and hopefully represent our county with our regards to that. And also, you guys will be at UAC, so I will be the other direction. And so I will try and Zoom that meeting on Monday for public lands, of course, with all the things there. Unbeknownst, I did not schedule to fly out of Salt Lake, fly out of Grand Junction, so it makes no sense to go up and then have to come back down. So I will Zoom that meeting, but I'm sure you guys will find out a lot of information. So
See, like we have had lots of meetings last week. We were to the water meeting here
yes,
on the golf course, hideout. There was water meetings. There were downwind meetings. I went twice to that one. It was very interesting. Get to see the once to that one, twice to the one that had to do with energy. They were trying to, it's a program that they got grants, and under those grants, different groups go presenting all over the nation trying to sell basically energy from uranium. So it was very interesting. We had lots of Native Americans there. They had a whole day with Native American. The second day was a bluff. I didn't attend that one. I went to the second one, and we had both Native Americans and Anglo there. Energy Fuel was there. To Logan, the main person there, Logan Shamway. And they were very, very professional because for a while the people were not kind to them, but they were very, very professional. They approached them, the people on the tables, they let talk, and some good things came up. So Logan went back to work the next day and told people, if you don't have nothing pressing, I want you to go to this meeting in Blanding. So they came to Blanding, and it was a really nice lecture. Chad Shamway, your friend, was there. Got to talk to him. And he had this organization basically, and I invite them to come and present MAC over here. So they're gonna contact us to come and present about the downwind money that's available with the new program. Anyway, so with working with weather station in Hawaii Mesa, wastewater, and I did talk to the Olcedo chapter, and they seem interested. So after wastewater, we'll try to connect them to Olcedo. We did talk about with the city for wastewater, also with the city of Monticello. We're trying to get an agreement where we're gonna get the old playground to be put in wastewater in the communities, but it's decided about that. I'm gonna be doing a presentation on the city of Monticello on Tuesday. I will be on the phone because I'll be up north to York. Talia talked about a grant. The grant, they only get so much money. I work with SODA, and we did a grant, and I just was submitted, and I just had lots of hope that we can get some of the money so we can help some of the business that did not get the opportunity. Also, I work with Clark Market twice a year. They have a program where for a week or so, the store donate a certain percentage of the money they make to a program. So I went and approached them about the 4-H program, and they liked the idea. So I talked to the 4-H program, which is Reagan managed that program, and so they went and applied. They got about $8,000, And I want to use part of the money. I'm going to talk to Reagan about using part of the money to start something in White Mesa. They do not have a 4-H program there. And also, I did visit with Carmen Kla, the president from Anna chapter, and I was talking to her about the computers in Montezuma Creek, and she said there's not computers that cannot be given to them. So you're not checking that stuff by the library in Montezuma Creek, because according to a librarian, those computers should be there. So can you check and see if they have those computers?
Sure.
Anyway, so and the last thing, I have a daughter. Her name is Jessica, and she is a professional therapist. She has a master's degree, and she's currently working on a PhD. And she is the person that started the program on Navajo health system on suicide. She did the most amazing presentation for our ward in church, and she had lots of material that can help. She did part for the youth because the youth were there, and adults, and she did a presentation for the youth. How they go about if your friend says something. And not only that, she had exercises that when you start feeling agitated or stressed out, that you can do certain exercises to kind of anchor yourself back. And it was just really amazing people, the professional, medical professionals, people there, so impressed how she presented. And I was, I know Jessica, and Jessica was kind of my quiet little girl, and to see her so knowledgeable of the subject. The Navajo Health System do 4 presentations a year, so she probably had done over 40 presentations since she started. And I think it'd be nice to invite her to come and do something sometimes, to have one that will be since we are in the talking about suicide, it'd be nice to give people some tools, how to look for, what you look for. And sometimes the things you look in an adult are different than what you look on a young person. A young person, they do it different when they're depressed. And so, anyway, so I thought that would be a good thing for us to do. And some are very, very basic things, just how you breathing exercise, different things. And she has it's not a survey, but a sheet where you keep track, where you kind of can see where you are if you're having those thoughts. And anyway, so I think that's what I have so far. But I think the education, information, because suicide is a word you don't want to say. It took me years and years for me to say that my son committed suicide. I couldn't say it. I would say he died a self-inflicted wound, whatever I would say, but I could not say suicide. And suicide is a thing that people think never gonna happen to us, and that's what I thought. But when you start, one time we were square and dancing, and there were several couples there, and it just every single person there was affected by suicide, either a brother, a child, a grandparent, whatever. Everybody was affected. And I think that it seemed to be more prevalent lately, and so I think if we can acquire those tools so we can recognize when somebody probably is crying for help, something. I have people that follow me around, and I wonder if they're just having a bad day or whatever, and they just sometimes just take up stop and talking to them. But anyway, so that's all I have. So that we make one more motion. Who wants to make one more motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So this will take a little break, and then we'll get to